They asked Brian and Nicole who else was at the house that night. Aside from the names already mentioned, the following people were present at some point during the time in question: Brian Albert Jr., Caitlin Albert, Julie Nagel, and Brian Higgins. There was other people there too. The town administrator's daughter, Catherine Duty, another woman by the name Emily Fabiano. There was a couple more. Mary Kent. There was like a few more people there. None of them are listed. But their daughter, Caitlin, left the house around 12:15 when she was picked up by her brother, Tristan Morris. So why they all left when the party started getting started. So Caitlin Albert's at the bar with their parents. And then she comes back to the house. She gets dropped off at the house. Just to leave? Why didn't Tristan Morris just pick her up at the bar? They said 12:15 because they know that if she's there, let's say she says she left at 12:45. Then they're going to ask her, well, did you see John O'Keefe? If you got out of there before 12:15, you couldn't have seen shit. We know now that Caitlin Albert testified in front of the federal grand jury. Shortly after that, she was interviewed by police for the first time. When Caitlin arrived at 34 Fairview Road with her parents, they parked in the driveway and encountered her cousin Colin, who was walking out of the house and getting a ride home from his friend Allie. Isn't that convenient? Oh yeah. Suddenly she saw Colin. But Colin was leaving. She says, okay, sure thing. When Caitlin entered the house, she saw her brother Brian Sr., Sarah Levinson, and Julie Nagel. Now here's where it gets interesting. At approximately 1:45 a.m., Caitlin was picked up by Tristan, who left from the waterfall bar earlier in the night. Where did he go? So he's out at the waterfall bar with them, and then he leaves the waterfall bar and just plays taxi with it. Where was he going that night? But all of a sudden, I mean, this is interesting. All of a sudden, Caitlin Albert's inside the house until 1:45. They then returned to their residence in Easton. She stated she was the last person to leave that did not live at her parents' house. So how can Caitlin Albert be the last person to leave the house if the rest of them left at 1:47 a.m.? Sarah Levinson, Sarah stated her, Julie, and Matthew and Jennifer McCabe left around 2 a.m. Matthew and Jennifer were driving Sarah and Julie home and the last ones to leave the Albert house. But Caitlin says she was the last one to leave the Albert. How confusing is that? How hard is it to know if you're the last one to leave? Brian Higgins was the first to leave. Remember, he clocked into work at 1:30, followed by Matt and Jen, who gave Julie and Sarah a ride home around 1:30. So I thought it was 2 o'clock. Brian stated Caitlin was the last to leave. Brian stated that Brian Higgins was the first to leave, followed by Matt and Jen, who gave Julie and Sarah a ride home around 1:30. So this is very different. This story is very different, guys. I mean, this has to give you confidence, right? In case you were worried about what the feds are doing, this has to give you confidence in it, because why? The fact that Caitlin Albert voluntarily put herself inside the scene of the crime and an hour and a half after her parents said that she had left tells you that they were confronted with something.